Okay, if you're trying to keep up with AI stocks right now, your head is probably spinning, right? You've got dot-com bubble comparisons, tariff headlines, confusing reports. It's a lot of noise. So let's just cut right through all of that. And this is the question, isn't it? The one that's on everybody's mind. Is this whole AI boom a bubble? Are we on the cusp of something truly revolutionary? Or are we just riding a hype train that's about to go off the rails? It's a totally fair question. But the answer? Well, you're not going to find it in the day-to-day headlines. No, you've got to forget all that noise. Because underneath it all, there is one single number, one signal that tells the real story. And honestly, it's the one metric that might matter more than all the others combined. All right, so let's do exactly that. Let's separate the noise from the signal. We're going to zero in on the hard data, the stuff that shows us exactly where the world's most powerful companies are putting their money. And here it is. The metric we're talking about is Big Tech capital expenditure. You'll hear it called CapEx. Now, what is that? It's just a fancy term for the money these giants are spending on actual physical stuff. We're talking servers, massive data centers, all those powerful GPUs, the real-world nuts and bolts of the AI infrastructure. This spending right here is what's driving everything. And the story it tells is one of just unbelievable conviction. So, how big of a bet are we talking about? Well, we are talking about a number so massive, it almost sounds made up. Let's actually break it down. What's really wild is how consistently the experts have gotten this wrong. They've just kept underestimating the trend. So look, last year, the 2025 forecast for Big Tech CapEx was around $280 billion. Then Morgan Stanley came in and bumped it up to $300 billion. Right before the last earnings season, the number was $365 billion. And every single time, reality just blew right past those forecasts. Which brings us to today. The number is now a whopping $405 billion. That is the current forecast for what Big Tech is going to spend on CapEx in 2025. And look, this isn't just a big number. It represents a staggering 62% growth year over year. This right here is the engine pushing the entire AI industry forward at breakneck speed. So who are these titans dropping all this cash? It's mind-boggling. In just a single quarter recently, Amazon, they poured in over $35 billion. Microsoft was right there with them at almost $35 billion. And Alphabet, Google's parent company, they weren't exactly sitting on their hands. They spent $24 billion. I mean, we're talking tens of billions of dollars every 3 months from just these three companies. It's insane. And you have to understand, this isn't them just spending money blindly. This quote from Amazon's CEO, Andy Jassy, it just nails the mindset perfectly. He says they're being aggressive because they see the demand. As fast as they add capacity, they're monetizing it. So they're not just building it and hoping people show up. The demand is real and it's happening right now. But okay, we have to look at this from all angles. This level of spending is something we've never seen before, and it begs a pretty critical question. Where is all this cash coming from? So let's flip the coin over and take a look at how this whole thing is being paid for. And this really sets up the core debate, You have the bull case, which says this is a huge multi-year growth cycle driven by an insatiable demand for AI. Then you have the bear case. They're saying, whoa, hold on. This is a one-time spending binge that's being fueled by a mountain of unsustainable debt. They're worried this whole boom is just propping up a weak economy and could be heading for a really sharp correction. And the bears, they've got some serious numbers to back up their argument. Get this, in just the last 2 months, companies borrowed $75 billion just for AI data centers. This year, it's projected that this CapEx spending is going to eat up 94% of Big Tech's operating cash flow. That's the cash they make from their actual business. And to top it off, JP Morgan thinks they'll need another $1.5 trillion in new bonds just to keep this build-out going. Okay, so is that it? Is this just a one-time infrastructure build that's going to fizzle out? That's what the bears believe. But there's a really fundamental misunderstanding in that line of thinking, and it has to do with how AI infrastructure actually works. And this is really the heart of it. Building out AI infrastructure, it's not like building a bridge where you finish it and you're done. It's what you could call a recurring revolution. See, every 1 or 2 years, a new generation of chips comes out, like NVIDIA's new Blackwell platform. And when that happens, it forces a complete redesign of everything in the data center. The power, the cooling, the networking, it all has to be re-architected. And that makes AI CapEx a structurally recurring expense, not some one-time project. All right, so we've established that the spending is absolutely massive, and it's probably not stopping anytime soon. But, and this is a big but, that doesn't mean every company throwing money at this is a great investment. You have to follow the money, absolutely. But you have to do it wisely. And this is where you can really see the difference, the separation between the leaders and the laggards. On one side, you got companies like Microsoft and Alphabet. Look at those net cash positions. They're sitting on huge piles of cash. Their CapEx is less than half of their operating cash flow, which means they are funding all this growth from a position of incredible strength. But then, you look at a player like Oracle. They're over $80 billion in net debt, and they're spending more than 100% of their operating cash flow on CapEx. So you see, the main point here is that not all spending is created equal, not even close. You have Microsoft and Alphabet, who are comfortably investing from their massive profits, and then you have others, like Oracle, who are basically digging themselves into a deeper financial hole, reporting negative free cash flow because their spending is just blowing past their earnings. It's truly a tale of two very different balance sheets. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Look, that $405 billion signal is crystal clear. This AI infrastructure buildout is real, it is massive, and it's a recurring cycle. But the second, and maybe more important takeaway, is that not all of this spending is the same. The debate isn't really about if this revolution is happening, it is. The real question for anyone trying to invest in this space is who has the financial firepower to not just build it, but to actually survive and be there to capture the value on the other side. That is the multi-trillion-dollar question you need to keep in mind.